Welcome to the Movie Planet. I'm your host, Ethan Downing. When many of you think of a leading man, you might picture a variety of people. The good looking hunk with $1 million smile like Glenn Powell or Scott Eastwood. The aging hunk like Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise. You might also think of the big, dumb, lovable comedian that's the butt of every joke, like Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn, Jack Black, or Owen Wilson. And there are the very artistic, big budget leading men that are praised for their acting prowess, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Denzel Washington, and Robert Pattinson. You also might think of the action hero, like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Jason Statham. I know that every actor is different and not everyone fits in a box, but these categories are generally well understood. The leading man that doesn't fit into any of those categories is Michael Cera. Michael Austin Cera was born June 7th, 1988, in Brampton, Ontario, to his mother, Linda. She's a WASP from Quebec, and his father, Luigi Cera, an Italian immigrant from Sicily. Michael was the middle child to his two sisters, Molly and Jordan. He had a relatively normal childhood. One day he got chickenpox and he stayed at home and watched Ghostbusters over and over again. Cera would go on to cite this moment as the moment where he realized he wanted to be involved in film and television. His breakout role was skateboarder number 2 in season 1, episode 6 of the 1999 show Twice in a Lifetime. After that, he would continue to do minor roles until his big break as a main character in the hit show Arrested Development. The show would have 5 seasons from 2003 to 2019, with numerous breaks in between. In this video, I'm going to focus on what I like to call the Michael Cera era of comedy. And then afterwards, I'm going to go over what makes Michael Cera great as a comedic leading man. I'm focusing on 5 films that came out from 2007 to 2010, which are Superbad, Nick and Norah's Infinite Playlist, Year One, Youth and Revolt, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. These aren't just my favorite Michael Cera films, they are his most successful. I'm excluding Juno from the list because, in my opinion, it's more of a drama, and Cera has a lot smaller role in that film. Cera's first big movie role, fresh off the heels of Arrested Development's initial run, was Superbad. Superbad was loosely based off high school experiences that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg had when they were young. Rogen and Goldberg spent 7 years trying to get the project made. They chose Michael Cera to play the role of Evan because they thought that Cera would be the perfect, awkward, nerdy straight man for Jonah Hill to bounce off of. The film centers around 2 virgins 2 weeks away from graduating high school. Another friend of theirs named Fogel says he's going to get a fake ID, and so Hill and Cera both promise their respective crushes they will get them alcohol at the party later that night. When they try and get alcohol at the liquor store, chaos ensued, which leads to one crazy night of drinking, fighting, and getting hit by cars. The movie was a massive success. With a budget of $20 million, it grossed $169.9 million worldwide. The success was so overwhelming, in fact, that it made Cera contemplate quitting acting for good. This proved just how quiet, awkward, and shy Cera really is. At age 19, he was getting more attention than he knew what to do with. He said that fame made him really uncomfortable. He said that drunk people would be overly enthusiastic and try to grab him because of his age and demeanor. People felt like they could manhandle him. Cera was looking to step his fame down a few notches, even going as far to turn down hosting SNL. He said all he ever wanted to be was a working actor who can still enjoy his day-to-day life. The main reason why he didn't quit was because he had already agreed to star in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. That's why we see Cera's career take a noticeable dip after Scott Pilgrim. He stepped away from leading roles for a while. Next, we have Nick and Norah's Infinite Playlist. In this movie, Nick, played by Michael Cera, is struggling with his breakup. He is the bass player in The Jerk-Offs. His bandmates try to get him to come out and do a gig with them in the city. Nick and Norah get roped into pretending to be boyfriend and girlfriend to make their respective exes jealous. This leads to a crazy night of partying and mishaps, all under the guise of romance. This movie has a very indie feel to it. A lot of people see this film as Columbia Pictures trying to replicate the teen comedy Superbad with Cera on a much cheaper budget. It's still a great Michael Cera classic, and it's also made good money. With a budget of $10 million, it grossed $36.2 million worldwide. In 2009, we have Harold Ramis's Year One, starring Jack Black and Michael Cera. This comedy adventure film follows two Neanderthals that get exiled from their village and go across the countryside in this hilarious retelling of old Bible stories. Cera would add his awkward teenage insecurity to a young caveman looking for a mate. Cera was the perfect straight man to co-star with Jack Black. This is the last time we really get to see Cera play the straight man in a buddy comedy movie. Even though Black and Cera have an 18-year age gap, it's not that noticeable on screen. It doesn't feel weird like they're too close or too far apart in age, like the age gap of Paul Newman and Robert Redford in The Sting, which is still a good film. In Year One, Cera is the butt of the joke a lot more often. Jack Black keeps running into dumb luck that makes his situation more favorable, whereas Cera keeps hilariously getting the short end of the stick, which is a bit of a twist in the Michael Cera comedy.
Guard! The upside down prisoner has to pee! Oh, pee. Oh, no. Try to keep your mouth closed. Oh, no. In the nose. Hey, I'm peeing on my face, too. On the inside.
I would love to see Black and Cera in a film together again. Sadly, this movie was Cera's first flop. With a budget of $60 million, it grossed $62.3 million worldwide. I think it's amazing despite its poor performance. Later that same year, in 2009, the much underrated rom-com Youth in Revolt would be released. It would be the last time in Cera's career that he played a high schooler. In terms of Michael's performances as an actor, I think this movie is truly his best performance. Not just because he plays two roles instead of one, but because he plays a character that is genuinely different from himself in real life, Francois. His character's dashing alter ego is brave, outgoing, brash, rude, and a true arrogant killer type of personality. Francois takes what he wants and does what he wants. In this movie, Cera plays the straight man opposite himself. Although there are comedic moments and funny scenes, this movie leans more into romance than any other in the Cera era of comedy. Michael Cera also did his own narration, and he developed and showcased a type of young romance that is often felt but rarely seen in cinema. The lonely, scared, dorky kid that doesn't get to interact with many women, who suddenly gets a chance to meet up with a pretty young girl, then he falls in love way too quickly and becomes obsessed with making the relationship work. That is the kind of story we have with Nick Twisp in Youth in Revolt. He tries to be someone he's not to get a girl, just like in Superbad. It's something a lot of young men can surely relate to. With a budget of $18 million, it grossed $19.6 million, making it a flop number 2 for Cera. The final film in the Cera era of comedy is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Many fans and critics alike say that this is his best film, and I would agree. This movie has achieved cult classic status since its release. It gets an A plus for originality. I've already talked about this movie on the channel before. I would give it a secretly great movie review, but people already know how great it is. In short, it is a video game style action comedy romance where Scott Pilgrim must defeat 7 evil exes to earn the love of Ramona Flowers. It is a comedy masterpiece and Michael Cera's best work yet. There are times in the film where the audience will desperately love a character and want that character to succeed. The audience is on board and rooting so hard for a romance to come to fruition. That is the essence of Scott Pilgrim and Ramona Flowers. It is a very special movie for those of you that have not seen it yet. Despite the fanfare and good reviews, with a budget of $85 million, it grossed $47.8 million worldwide. Even though it was a box office disappointment, it's a certified cult classic. It got a remake anime show in 2023, and in 2021, eager fans could now buy the 4K Blu-ray release. It's the only Michael Cera film to receive such an honor. After Scott Pilgrim, Cera took a much-needed step back from the spotlight, and he came back to shoot more seasons of Arrested Development. He had a hilarious cameo in This Is the End, but for the most part, after Scott Pilgrim, Cera had a relatively quiet career, acting in indie films and supporting roles. He became the working actor he always wanted to be. A part of his drop-off might also have to do with him finishing the Cera era with 3 bombs in a row in 2 years. Studios may not want to take a risk on a Michael Cera-led big-budget film anymore. Michael Cera is such a unique leading man. He is one of one. That being said, there are only 2 actors I think that people will sometimes compare to Cera. They are Jesse Eisenberg and Paul Dano. I had a friend tell me once that if you took every Eisenberg role and replaced it with Michael Cera, the movie would be much better. I would agree. Eisenberg is a bit like Cera in that he is kinda awkward and socially inept, like the character he plays in Zombieland, but in a majority of his roles, he comes off as a snarky, know-it-all, argumentative dweeb. There are times where he seems really irritable as well. Cera could play every Eisenberg character in a better and more likable way. Paul Dano, on the other hand, doesn't do a whole lot of comedies, and his characters tend not to come off as socially awkward, but more so disturbed and creepy with bad intentions. The closest Michael Cera type roles I've seen him play are in Dumb Money and Gigantic. I don't think anyone in movie history has captured teenage angst, awkward behavior, vulnerability, and young romance the way that Cera has. Many of his characters are wildly insecure, filled with feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy. His characters lack self-respect and will often let themselves be mistreated if it means they are liked. Michael Cera plays people that are in an identity crisis. They don't know who they are and what they're trying to be. Many other characters in movies can be very two-dimensional. They have something about themselves that creates the conflict of the story, like being overly aggressive and hard to be around, or being depressed and not wanting to participate in life. They are often forced into situations that make them confront who they really are. Then they find a way to change it and be better, or they continue to self-destruct. Michael Cera's movies, on the other hand, are not so simple. Cera's characters all have a laundry list of things they hate about themselves with no feasible way of fixing it. Cera goes on a journey of self-contentment in pursuit of someone who will love him for the way he currently is right now, which I think is more realistic towards the human condition, especially when it comes to being a young adult. Everyone must go on their own journey of self-discovery sooner or later, and problems you have with yourself may not be so plainly clear and obvious. It might take some figuring out, and it might be nice to have someone to help figure it out with you. This is my take on why I think Michael Cera is a leading man enigma. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments which Michael Cera movie you love the most and why.